I'm about to tell you something that's going to sound completely insane, but I swear on everything I hold sacred that this actually happened to me. A Bigfoot saved my life. Not only that, the Bigfoot spoke to me, used actual English words, and what the Bigfoot told me about humans, about nature, about our place in this world, it changed everything I thought I knew. I'm a park ranger, have been one for 12 years now, and I've always been the practical type, ideal, in fact, in what I can see and measure. But after spending weeks alone in the wilderness with a creature that's not supposed to exist, being cared for by the Bigfoot when I couldn't even move, I don't know what to believe anymore. It happened during a solo patrol in late September. The forest was in that beautiful transition period where summer starts giving way to autumn. The air had that crisp quality to it, the kind that makes you feel alive just breathing it in. I was checking on some of the remote trails in the backcountry, the ones that only the most serious hikers ever use. These trails wind through some of the most rugged terrain you could imagine. Steep slopes covered in loose rocks, narrow paths that hug cliff faces, and streams that can turn into raging torrents after a good rain. I'd been hiking for about 6 hours when I decided to take what I thought would be a shortcut down a steep ravine. I'd been down that way before, or at least I thought I had. The thing about dense forest is that it all starts to look the same after a while. One rock formation looks like another. One cluster of pine trees looks like every other cluster. I thought I was following a game trail that would save me about an hour of hiking, hit me back at my truck before dark. I was about halfway down the ravine when my boot caught on a root hidden under some dead leaves. My foot twisted hard to the left, and I felt myself falling forward. I reached out to grab onto something, anything, but my hand just slid off wet moss covering a boulder. Then I was tumbling down the slope, bouncing off rocks and tree trunks, my backpack smashing against my spine with every impact. The fall probably only lasted about 10 seconds, but it felt like forever. I remember thinking clearly that this was it. This was how I was going to die, alone in the wilderness, doing a job that most people never even think about. Then I hit a ledge about 20 ft down and felt something in both my legs snap. The pain was instant and overwhelming, like someone had taken a baseball bat to both my shins at the same time. I rolled onto my side and came to a stop against a fallen log, gasping for air, my vision going white around the edges. When the initial shock wore off and I could think clearly again, I tried to move my legs. That's when I realized just how bad things were. My right leg was bent at an angle that legs aren't supposed to bend. My left leg looked straighter, but the pain when I tried to move it told me it was broken too. I was lying in a ravine about 20 ft below the trail I'd fallen from with 2 broken legs, miles from anywhere, with no way to climb back up. I managed to reach my radio and tried calling for help, but I was too deep in the ravine. Nothing but static. My cell phone had no signal either, which wasn't surprising. These mountains are full of dead zones where nothing gets through. I had some first aid supplies in my pack, some emergency rations, a water filter and a sleeping bag. Enough to survive for maybe a week if I were careful. But with 2 broken legs, I couldn't hunt, couldn't gather firewood, couldn't even reach the stream I could hear running somewhere below me. The sun was starting to set, and the temperature was dropping fast. I knew I had to set up some kind of shelter before dark. Using my arms, I dragged myself toward the fallen log that had stopped my fall. Every movement sent waves of agony through my legs. It took me probably half an hour to move about 15 ft. I managed to prop myself up against the log and pulled my sleeping bag out of my backpack. My hands were shaking so badly from pain and shock that I could barely work the zipper. That first night was the longest of my life. The pain in my legs was constant and horrible. I'd taken some painkillers from my first aid kit, but they barely touched it. I kept drifting in and out of consciousness, waking up every time I accidentally moved my legs, even a little bit. The forest around me was full of sounds, owls hooting, small animals rustling through the underbrush, the wind moving through the treetops. Every sound made me think of predators, bears, mountain lions, and wolves. I was helpless down there, couldn't run, couldn't even stand, easy prey. When dawn finally came, I'd never been so happy to see daylight. I was still alive, which was something, but my situation hadn't improved at all. My legs had swollen up badly overnight, and the pain was even worse than before. I ate one of my emergency rations bars and drank some water from my bottle, trying to think clearly about my options. The way I figured it, I had maybe 3 or 4 days before someone would realize I hadn't checked in and send out a search party. The question was whether they'd find me in time and whether I could survive that long. I spent most of that morning trying to stabilize my legs as best I could. I cut some branches from nearby bushes and used cord from my pack to fashion crude splints. It was agonizing work, and I had to stop every few minutes because the pain would get so bad I thought I might pass out. But I knew that if my legs moved around too much, my broken bones could cause even more damage. By midday, I was exhausted from the effort and the pain. I lay back against the log and closed my eyes, just trying to breathe through it. That's when I heard something moving through the forest above me. Heavy footsteps, heavier than a deer or even an elk. My first thought was bear. A bear would smell me down here, smell the blood and sweat and fear. I didn't even have the energy to be scared at that point. I just lay there listening to the footsteps get closer. Then I smelled something strange. It wasn't a bear smell, which is kind of musky and earthy. This was different, stronger, more pungent, kind of like wet dog mixed with rotting leaves, and something else I couldn't quite place. The footsteps stopped somewhere above me on the trail. I could hear breathing, heavy and deep. Whatever was up there was big. I opened my eyes and looked up toward the trail. At first I didn't see anything, just trees and rocks in the steep slope I'd fallen. Then something moved in the shadows, something tall, something that was standing on 2 legs. The Bigfoot stepped into a shaft of sunlight, and I got my first clear look. The Bigfoot had to be at least 8 feet tall, maybe taller, covered head to toe in dark brown hair, almost black in some places, with patches of gray around the face. The Bigfoot's shoulders were massive, probably twice as wide as mine. The arms hung down past the knees and ended in hands that looked almost human, but bigger, much bigger. The face was flatter than an ape's face, but not human either. Something in between. The eyes were what got me, though. Dark eyes that looked intelligent. The eyes of something that was thinking, evaluating, and making decisions. The Bigfoot stood there at the top of the ravine, looking down at me for what felt like forever, but was probably only a minute or 2. I couldn't move, couldn't speak, just lay there staring up at this creature that wasn't supposed to exist. The Bigfoot tilted its head to one side, studying me. Then the Bigfoot turned and walked away. I could hear the footsteps fading into the forest. I lay there trying to process what I'd just seen. My rational mind kept trying to tell me it was a bear or a person in a costume, or that I'd hallucinated from the pain and shock. But I knew what I'd seen. I'd been a ranger long enough to know the difference between bears and humans. That was something else entirely. I must have dozed off in the early afternoon because I woke up to the sound of something moving down the slope toward me. For a second, I thought I had dreamed the whole thing, that the Bigfoot hadn't been real. Then I smelled that same pungent odor and knew the Bigfoot was back. The Bigfoot came down the ravine, moving carefully, testing each foothold before putting full weight on it. The Bigfoot was carrying something in both arms. As the Bigfoot got closer, I could see it was branches, long straight branches that still had green leaves on them. The Bigfoot laid these branches down next to me and then stood there, those dark eyes staring at my legs. I didn't know what to do. My radio was sitting next to me, but I was afraid to reach for it, afraid any sudden movement might provoke the Bigfoot. So I just stayed still and watched. The Bigfoot knelt beside me, and I got hit with the full force of that snow. It was overwhelming, made my eyes water. But there was something else, too. The Bigfoot smelled like the forest, like earth and pine needles and morning dew. natural smells mixed with the musk. The Bigfoot reached out toward my legs. I tried to pull back, but there was nowhere to go, and the pain when I moved was too much. The Bigfoot paused, then looked at my face. The Bigfoot's expression changed slightly. If I had to describe it, I'd say the Bigfoot looked concerned. Then the Bigfoot spoke. "Hurt," the Bigfoot said, just that one word. The voice was deep, deeper than any human voice I'd ever heard. But it was definitely a word, definitely English. My mind couldn't process it. I just stared. The Bigfoot reached out again, more slowly this time. Bigfoot's hand was enormous. It could have probably wrapped all the way around my leg. The Bigfoot touched my right leg carefully, barely any pressure right above where the bone had snapped. The Bigfoot looked at my face again, watching my reaction. "Bad," the Bigfoot said. Then the Bigfoot pointed at my left leg. "Bad." "Yes," I managed to croak out. "Both broken. Vad." The Bigfoot nodded, actually nodded like the Bigfoot understood. Then the Bigfoot picked up the branches and started doing something I couldn't quite understand at first. The Bigfoot was breaking them into lengths, stripping off the smaller twigs and leaves. After a few minutes, I realized what Bigfoot was doing, making better splints. The Bigfoot worked with surprising gentleness, considering the size of those hands. The Bigfoot removed my crude splints carefully, then positioned the new branches on my legs. The Bigfoot used strips of bark to bind them in place, wrapping them around and around. It hurt. There's no way it couldn't hurt, but the Bigfoot worked as carefully as any medic I'd ever seen. When the Bigfoot was done, my legs were much more stable. "Better," the Bigfoot said, looking at the splints. "Thank you," I said. My voice came out as barely a whisper. The Bigfoot looked at me for a long moment, then stood up and walked away, disappearing back up the ravine. I lay there in shock. A Bigfoot had just splinted my broken legs. A Bigfoot had spoken to me in English. A Bigfoot had helped me. I should mention that throughout this whole thing, I never felt threatened by the Bigfoot. I know that probably sounds crazy given the situation, but there was something about the way the Bigfoot moved, the way the Bigfoot looked at me, that didn't feel dangerous. It felt more like Bigfoot was trying to help, trying to understand what was wrong and fix it. The Bigfoot came back about an hour later. This time, the Bigfoot was carrying what looked like a bundle of leaves and moss. The Bigfoot knelt next to me again and started packing this stuff around my legs over the splints. The moss was damp and cool, and actually felt good against my swollen skin. "Cold," the Bigfoot said, patting the moss. "Whelp." Over the next few hours, as the sun started to set again, I watched the Bigfoot work. The Bigfoot brought more branches and built what I can only describe as a lean-to shelter over me, angling it to block the wind. The Bigfoot brought an armload of pine boughs and spread them on the ground, making a softer surface for me to lie on. The Bigfoot even brought me water. The Bigfoot had found my water bottle where it had fallen during my tumble, and it filled it at the stream. When darkness fell, I was lying under a crude but effective shelter on a bed of pine boughs, with my legs properly splinted. I was warmer and more comfortable than I'd been since the fall. The Bigfoot sat nearby, just outside the shelter, a dark shape against the darker forest. "Why are you helping me?" I asked into the darkness. There was a long silence. Then hurt. "Help hurt." "But I'm human," I said. "Humans hunt your kind, try to find you." Another long pause. "You do not hunt," the Bigfoot said. "You fell, you hurt, I help." That was the longest sentence the Bigfoot had spoken yet. The words came slowly, like Bigfoot had to think carefully about each one before saying it. But they were clear. The Bigfoot was choosing to help me simply because I was injured. I tried to sleep that night, but my mind was racing too much. I kept thinking about all the big food stories I'd heard over the years, all the reported sightings that people had mocked and dismissed, all the theories about what these creatures might be if they existed. And here I was being cared for by one, being spoken to by one. The next morning I woke up to find the Bigfoot had brought food, berries, some kind of edible roots, and what looked like honeycomb dripping with honey. The Bigfoot set these down next to me and watched as I ate. The berries were tart and delicious. The roots were starchy but filling. The honey was incredible, the best I'd ever tasted. "Thank you," I said. "This is good food," the Bigfoot agreed. The Bigfoot patted its stomach. "Make strong." That became our routine. The Bigfoot would leave at first light and return an hour or two later with food. Sometimes berries, sometimes roots, sometimes nuts. Once the Bigfoot brought fish from the stream already cleaned, the Bigfoot would check my legs, packing fresh moss around them. The big food kept the shelter maintained, replacing branches that fell, adding more pine boughs when mine got compressed. I tried to ration my emergency supplies, but the big food seemed to understand that I had my own food too. When I ate one of my rations bars, the Bigfoot watched with interest. "Human food," I said, holding up the wrapper. The Bigfoot leaned forward and sniffed. The Bigfoot's nose wrinkled. "Bad smell," the Bigfoot said. I had to laugh at that, which hurt because laughing jostled my legs. "Yeah," I said, "not as good as your food." As the days passed, we started to communicate more. Bigfoot's English was limited, mostly 1 or 2 word sentences, but we figured out ways to understand each other. I learned that the Bigfoot would point at things and say the words the Bigfoot knew. Tree, rock, water, sky. Bigfoot seemed to have names for most natural things. One morning, maybe 4 or 5 days after the fall, I woke up to find the Bigfoot sitting closer than usual. The Bigfoot was watching me with those intelligent dark eyes. "Why here?" the Bigfoot asked, gesturing at the forest around us. "It's my job," I said. "I'm a ranger. I protect the forest, help people who get lost or hurt." The Bigfoot seemed to think about this. "Protect?" the Bigfoot repeated. "Like me, I protect." "Protect what?" I asked. The Bigfoot gestured widely at the forest. "All these trees, animals, homes." I realized then that we had something in common. We were both guardians in our own way. I protected the forest from human threats, fires, poachers, and people who didn't respect the wilderness. The Bigfoot protected it from what? I wasn't sure yet. Over the next week, as my body slowly started to heal, the Bigfoot taught me things. Not with long explanations or lectures, but with simple words and gestures. The Bigfoot would point at a tree and say, "Old tree, good tree," then point at another and say, "Sick tree, bad." I started to see what the big food meant. The healthy trees had full canopies, thick bark, and no signs of disease. The sick trees were struggling, losing needles, showing decay. The Bigfoot showed me how everything in the forest was connected. The Bigfoot would dig in the soil and show me the mycorrhizal networks, the fungi that connected tree roots underground. Trees talk. The Bigfoot said underground share food, share water, all together. I knew about mycorrhizal networks from my ranger training, but seeing them through the Bigfoot's eyes was different. To the Bigfoot, this wasn't just biology, it was a community. The trees were helping each other, communicating, taking care of their own. One day, the Bigfoot brought me to watch a stream. The Bigfoot had figured out that I could scoot along on my rear end using my arms, dragging my legs carefully. It was painful and slow, but I could move short distances. The Bigfoot brought me to a spot where the stream pulled up before continuing downhill. "Watch," the Bigfoot said. We sat there for maybe half an hour. I saw fish swimming in the pool. I saw birds come down to drink. A deer came cautiously out of the trees, checked for danger, then lowered its head to drink. After the deer left, a raccoon appeared and started hunting for crayfish in the shallows. "See," the Bigfoot said, "all share, all need water, all come here. Peace." I understood what the Bigfoot was showing me. This spot was like neutral ground. Predators and prey both came here to drink, and there was an unspoken agreement that this was a safe space. The forest had its own rules, its own system of coexistence. The Bigfoot told me about the rhythms of the forest, how the Bigfoot could tell when winter was coming by, the way the animals behaved, the way the plants changed, even the way the light fell through the trees. Forest talk, the Bigfoot said. Always talk, just listen. I started paying attention in ways I never had before. The sounds around us weren't just random noise. There were patterns. The birds had alarm calls that were different from their regular songs. The squirrels made specific sounds when predators were near. Even the wind through the trees seemed to carry information about approaching weather. Humans do not listen, the Bigfoot said one day. We were sitting outside the shelter in the afternoon sun. Humans do not see, walk through the forest blind, deaf. I know, I said. We've forgotten now. Not forget, the Bigfoot said. Choose not, choose machines, choose cities, choose the easy way. It was the longest statement the Bigfoot had made yet, and it hit me hard because the Bigfoot was right. We had chosen to separate ourselves from nature, to insulate ourselves from the wild world with technology and civilization. We'd gained a lot from that choice, but we'd lost something too. As the second week began, my legs were healing, but still nowhere near strong enough to walk on. The Bigfoot kept up the routine of bringing food, maintaining the shelter, and checking my injuries. But now, the Bigfoot also spent hours sitting with me, teaching me things. The Bigfoot showed me which plants were medicine. The Bigfoot would bring a leaf or root, crush it, smell it, and apply it to scratches on the Bigfoot's own arm or leg to show me what it did. This one for pain, the Bigfoot would say. This one for fever. This one for a bad stomach. I recognized some of them from my wilderness first aid training, but others were completely new to me. The Bigfoot knew the forest's pharmacy in ways that humans had mostly forgotten. One evening, as we sat watching the sunset through the trees, the Bigfoot started talking about balance. Forest needs balance, the Bigfoot said. Too many deer, they eat all the plants, then the deer starve. Too many wolves, they eat all the deer. Then wolves starve. Everything balances like a cycle, I said. Yes, the cycle is always moving. Never stop, but stay balanced. The Bigfoot paused and looked at me directly. Humans break the balance. I know, I said quietly. Cut too many trees, the Bigfoot continued. Kill too many animals, take too much. Give nothing back, break the cycle. The Bigfoot wasn't angry when speaking these words. There was no aggression in the Bigfoot's voice. It was more like sadness. The Bigfoot was stating facts, describing what the Bigfoot had observed. Some humans try to help, I said. That's what rangers do. We try to protect places like this. Some try, the Bigfoot agreed. But more don't, more take, more break, more destroy. The Bigfoot gestured at the forest. This place is still good, still balanced, but smaller now. Humans come closer every year. Less space for wild things, less space for us. I realized Bigfoot was talking about Bigfoot's own kind. How many of you are there? I asked. The Bigfoot was quiet for a long time. Few, the Bigfoot finally said. Very few. We hide, we move, we stay where humans do not go, but harder now. Fewer places to hide. I'm sorry, I said, and I meant it. Not you. Sorry, the Bigfoot said. All humans should be sorry, should remember. Remember they're part of the forest too, part of Earth, not separate, not above. Part of this idea seemed important to the Bigfoot. The Bigfoot came back to it again and again over the following days. Humans had made themselves separate from nature, had put themselves above it, and decided they were different from animals. But to the Bigfoot, this was wrong thinking. You animal, the Bigfoot said to me once. Smart animal, make things, use fire, but still an animal. Need air, still need water, still need food, still need earth, same as deer, same as birds, same as me. The Bigfoot was right. We'd created this false distinction between humans and nature, between civilization and wilderness. But we still depended on the natural world for everything. We just hid that dependence behind layers of technology and infrastructure. One night, maybe 2 weeks after my fall, I woke up to find the Bigfoot sitting outside the shelter, looking up at the stars. I could see them too, through gaps in the canopy, countless points of light in the darkness. You wake, the Bigfoot said without looking at me. Couldn't sleep, I said, legs aching. The Bigfoot nodded, still looking up. Stars talk too, the Bigfoot said. What do they say? The Bigfoot was quiet for a moment. They say small, the Bigfoot finally answered. We are all small, forest small, mountain small, earth small, all small under stars, but all connected, all part of a big thing. I thought about this. You mean like everything is connected? Not just in the forest, but everywhere. Yes, everything. One thing just looks like many things. Humans forget this, think they separate, think they are alone, but never alone, always part of a big thing. The big food turned to look at me. Humans are scared of death. Why scared? Death just changes. Body stops, but energy goes on. Back to earth, back to the forest, feed trees, feed animals, keep the cycle moving, nothing lost, just change. This was the most philosophical the Bigfoot had ever gotten, and it struck me deeply. The Bigfoot had a completely different way of viewing existence. There was no fear of death because the Bigfoot saw it as just another part of the cycle. Energy transforms from one form to another but never truly disappears. Humans tried to escape the cycle, the Bigfoot continued. Build cities, make walls, keep out weather, keep out animals, keep out death, but can't escape. Cycles always win. Better to accept, better to be part of, not fight against. Over the next few days, the Bigfoot taught me more about this worldview. The Bigfoot believed that everything had a spirit. Not just animals, but trees, rocks, water, and wind. Everything was alive in its own way. Everything was conscious in its own way. And everything was connected through this vast network of spirit and energy. You feel it? The Bigfoot asked me once. Close eyes, feel the forest. I closed my eyes and tried to feel what the Bigfoot meant. At first, I just felt the wind, the temperature, the ache in my legs. But as I sat there longer, I started to notice other things. A kind of vibration in the air, a sense of presence all around me. It was like the forest was breathing, pulsing with life. I feel something, I said. That forest spirit, the Bigfoot said, is always there, just must listen, must feel. Humans forget how. Too much thinking, not enough feeling. The Bigfoot told me that humans used to know this. Long ago, before cities and technology, humans lived as part of the forest, part of nature. Humans understood the spirit in all things. Humans respected the balance. Humans took only what they needed and gave thanks for what they received. Old humans knew, the Big Food said, lived with us, saw us sometimes, respected us. We respected them. Shared forest, shared earth. Good time. What changed? I asked. Humans got clever, the Bigfoot said. Made tools, made fire, made weapons. Good things, helped humans survive. But then got too clever, started taking more than needed. Started thinking they own the forest, own earth, own everything. Forgot respect, forgot balance, forgot spirit. The big food industry believed that this forgetting was the root of all human problems. We'd separated ourselves from the spiritual reality of the natural world. We no longer saw ourselves as part of the web of life, but as masters over it, and this had led to all the destruction and imbalance we caused. But not too late, the Bigfoot said. Never too late. Humans can remember, can learn again, can come back to balance. Just must choose. How? I asked. How do we come back? Start small, the Bigfoot said. One human at a time. Go to the forest. Listen, feel, watch, learn, respect. When humans respect, humans remember. When humans remember, humans change. When humans change, balance comes back. By the third week, I could feel my legs starting to knit back together. The constant, terrible pain had eased to a dull ache. I could wiggle my toes without wanting to scream. The Bigfoot seemed to sense this improvement and started helping me with gentle exercises, moving my feet slowly in circles, helping me flex and point my toes. Body heal, the Bigfoot said approvingly. Good body, strong body. During this time, I learned more about how Bigfoot lived. The Bigfoot told me there were others scattered through the deepest parts of the forest. They avoided each other mostly, each one having its own territory, but sometimes they would meet, usually at certain places that seemed to hold significance. "We gather at old places," the Bigfoot said. "Places with a strong spirit. Share food, share stories. Remember old times. Do you have families?" I asked. The Bigfoot looked sad for the first time since I'd known them. "Once many families, many young ones. Now very few. Hard to find, mate. Hard to keep the young ones safe from humans." I felt a weight of guilt hearing this. The big food species was dying out, and it was because of human expansion, human development, and human inability to share the earth with other intelligent beings. "I wish more humans could meet you," I said. "Could learn from you, like I have. Then they'd understand." The Bigfoot shook its head. "Most humans are not ready. Most humans would fear, would hunt, would try to catch, would make a show for other humans. Better we stay hidden, better we stay myth, safer that way." "But doesn't it make you angry," I asked, "that humans took so much from you?" The Bigfoot thought about this. "Anger does not help," the Bigfoot finally said. "Anger is just poison, make me sick inside. Better to accept, better to adapt, better to find peace in what is, not what was." This response showed me how different Bigfoot's psychology was from human psychology. We hold on to anger, onto resentment, onto the need for revenge or justice. The Bigfoot had let go of all that. The Bigfoot had accepted the reality of the situation and found peace within it. But the Bigfoot also made it clear that acceptance didn't mean giving up. "We still protect," the Bigfoot said. "Still guard wild places. Still teach forest how to heal. Still hope humans wake up. Still hope balance comes back. Just not angry while hoping. Can hope with peace. Can you protect with love?" This idea of protecting with love rather than anger was new to me. In my work as a ranger, I'd seen a lot of environmental activists who were angry, and rightfully so. But the Bigfoot was showing me another way. You could fight to protect nature, not from a place of rage, but from a place of love. And maybe that was actually more powerful. During the 4th week, I could tell my legs were healing well enough that I might be able to walk soon with support. The Bigfoot had kept me alive and safe all this time, had fed me and cared for me, had taught me things that changed my whole understanding of the world. And now our time together was coming to an end. One afternoon, as the Bigfoot helped me practice standing with my weight on a sturdy branch the Bigfoot had shaped into a crutch, I asked the question that had been on my mind. "What do you want humans to do? If you could make us understand one thing, what would it be?" The Bigfoot stopped and considered this seriously. The Bigfoot looked out at the forest, then back at me. "Won't humans remember they are part of the whole?" the Bigfoot said slowly. "Not above nature, not separate from nature, part of nature. Every action affects the whole. When humans cut a tree, they cut part of self. When humans poison the river, they poison part of self. When humans kill animals for sport, not food, they kill part of self. All connected, all one." The Bigfoot paused, then continued. "Watch humans remember spirit. Not just in church, not just in special places. Spirit everywhere, in trees, in rocks, in air, in water, everything alive, everything aware, everything sacred. When humans remember this, they treat the world differently. They take only what they need. They give thanks, they respect. And what's humanity's role, I ask? If everything has a purpose in the balance, what's ours?" The Bigfoot smiled slightly. The first time I'd seen anything like a smile on the Bigfoot's face. "Humans are supposed to be caretakers," the Bigfoot said. "Smart enough to understand, clever enough to help. Supposed to use big brains to heal, not harm, to protect, not destroy, to balance, not take. Caretakers," I repeated. "Yes, like rangers, you are supposed to watch over, keep balance, help the weak, protect the young, share with all. That human purpose, that why humans have big brains and clever hands to take care of Earth and all beings on Earth. The Bigfoot's vision of humanity's role was beautiful and tragic at the same time. Beautiful because it gave us purpose and nobility. Tragic because we'd so completely failed to live up to it. We've gotten so far off track, I said. Yes, the Bigfoot agreed. But still time, still possible. Some humans already wake up, already remember, already work to heal. Need more, need many more, but possible. Must believe possible. On what turned out to be our last full day together, the Bigfoot and I sat outside the shelter in the late afternoon sun. My legs were strong enough now, but I thought I could make it out of the ravine if I took it slow and used the crutch. The Bigfoot knew this too. You leave soon, the Bigfoot said. It wasn't a question. Yes, I said. I need to get back. People will be worried. They might have sent search parties out looking for me. The Bigfoot nodded. I know he's right. Is time? We sat in silence for a while, watching the shadows lengthen. Finally, the Bigfoot spoke again. You tell a story, the Bigfoot said. Tell other humans what you learn here. Tell about balance. Tell about the spirit. Tell about the connection. Will they believe me? I asked. Some will, some won't. No matter, plant seeds. Seeds grow. Maybe slow, but grow. Truth always finds a way. The Bigfoot turned to face me directly. Humans are at a turning point, the Bigfoot said seriously. Can choose to remember to come back to balance, or can keep forgetting, keep destroying until nothing is left. Earth will survive. Earth always survives, but humans may not. All other animals may not. Your choice, all humans' choice. That's the message. I asked that we have to choose. The message is this. The big food said you should not separate. You are not above. You're not special. You part of the earth. Part of nature, part of the spirit, part of the web. When you hurt the earth, you hurt yourself. When you heal the earth, you heal yourself. Simple. True. Must remember that Bigfoot stood up and looked down at me. And tell humans this. Wild places need protection. Wild things need space. We all share Earth. Must learn to share better. Must learn to take less. Must learn to give back. Must learn to live with balance. This is not just for us, not just for animals, but for humans too. Humans die without wild places, die without clean water, die without clean air, die without forest. All connected, all one. I'll tell them. I promised. I don't know if they'll listen, but I'll tell them is enough. The Bigfoot said, you do your part, just like I do my part. Just like all beings do their part, all work together, all part of healing. The next morning, a Bigfoot helped me climb out of the ravine. It took hours and was painful despite how much my legs had healed. The Bigfoot stayed below me the whole time, spotting me, making sure I didn't fall and encouraging me with simple words. Strong, good, careful, yes. When we finally reached the trail at the top, I was exhausted and my legs were screaming with pain. But I was out of the ravine. The Bigfoot stood next to me, towering over me, even though I was standing. You walk now, the Bigfoot said. Follow the trail, go slow, rest much, you make it. Thank you, I said, and the words felt completely inadequate for what the Bigfoot had done for me. You saved my life. You gave me so much more than that. You changed how I see everything. The Bigfoot placed one massive hand on my shoulder gently. You're welcome. Remember what you learned. Share what you learned. Help heal. That's thanks enough. Then the Bigfoot did something unexpected. The Bigfoot brought one hand up and placed it over the Bigfoot's heart, then extended that hand toward me, palm open. I understood the gesture and returned it, placing my hand over my own heart and extending it toward the Bigfoot. Go with peace, the Bigfoot said. Go with love. Go with purpose. I will, I said. Will I see you again? The Bigfoot smiled slightly. Maybe if you listen. If you watch, if you remember, I always hear. Forest is always here. Spirit is always here. Just must remember to look. Then the Bigfoot turned and walked into the forest, moving silently between the trees, despite the Bigfoot's massive size. Within seconds, the Bigfoot had disappeared completely, as if the forest had simply absorbed the Bigfoot back into itself. I stood there for a long moment, leaning on my crutch, looking at the spot where the Bigfoot had vanished. Then I turned and started making my way down the trail toward civilization, toward my truck, toward a world that felt different now than it had before. It took me 2 days to hike out, moving slowly, camping overnight at a spot near a stream. When I finally reached my truck, I found it covered in dust and pine needles. The battery was dead, but I had jumper cables and managed to get it started. My radio worked once I got closer to the ranger station, and I called in my location. The reception I got when I finally made it to the station was overwhelming. They'd been searching for me for 3 weeks, had almost given up hope of finding me alive. They wanted to know everything. Where had I been? How had I survived? How had I treated my broken legs? I told them I'd fallen, which was true. I told them I'd managed to splint my legs and find shelter, which was true. I told them I'd survived on berries and roots in water from streams, which was true. I just left out the part about who had helped me do all those things. The doctors were amazed at how well my legs had healed, considering I'd been alone in the wilderness with no proper medical care. The spitting had been done expertly, they said. The moss packing had prevented infection. Whoever had taught me wilderness first aid had taught me well, they said. I just nodded and agreed. That was 6 months ago. My legs healed fully, and I'm back to work now, doing my patrols, protecting the forest. But everything is different now. I move through the wilderness with new awareness. I listen to the birds and understand what they're telling me. I watch how the animals behave and learn from them. I pay attention to the trees and see how they communicate. I've started teaching other rangers some of what I learned. Not by telling them about the Bigfoot. I keep that part to myself because I know Bigfoot was right about humans not being ready. But I teach them about observation, about respecting the intelligence of the forest, about understanding that everything is connected. Some of them get it. Some of them think I'm crazy. That's okay. Seeds grow slowly. I've also started speaking at schools and community groups about wilderness conservation. I talk about balance, about humanity's role as caretakers rather than conquerors, about the spiritual connection between humans and nature. I don't use those exact words because they sound too mystical for modern ears, but I convey the ideas in ways people can accept. Some people listen. Some people change how they think about nature. Some people start treating the forest with more respect. It's slow work, but it's work worth doing. I know what the skeptics would say if I told them the whole story. They'd say I was hallucinating from pain and shock. They'd say I suffered brain damage from my fall. They'd say I imagined the whole thing to cope with trauma. And maybe they'd be right to be skeptical. I would be too, if someone told me this story. But I know what happened. I know what I saw. I know what I learned. And I know that somewhere out there in the deep forest, the Bigfoot is still there, still protecting the wild places, still hoping that humans will wake up and remember their true purpose. The Bigfoot told me that humans are at a turning point. And I believe that's true. We can choose to keep destroying, keep taking, keep separating ourselves from nature until there's nothing left. Or we can choose to remember, to come back into balance, to take our proper role as caretakers of this earth. The Big Food told me that we're not separate from nature, we're part of it, that everything is connected through vast networks of spirit and energy. That is when we harm the earth, we harm ourselves. That is when we heal the earth, we heal ourselves. The Bigfoot told me that wild places and wild things need protection, that we all share this planet and must learn to share it better. The earth will survive our foolishness, but we might not. That the choice is ours. That's the message I'm supposed to share. That's what the Bigfoot wanted humans to know. And whether you believe my story or not, I hope you'll think about that message because it's true regardless of where it came from. These days, I spend every moment in the forest with heightened awareness. I see things other people miss. I notice when the forest is healthy and when it's struggling. I understand the language of the birds, the messages in the wind, the stories told by tracks in the mud. Sometimes late at night when I'm camping in the backcountry, I smell that distinctive scent. Musky and earthy, strong but natural. And I know Bigfoot is nearby, watching over the forest, checking on this human who learned to listen. I never see Bigfoot on these occasions. The Bigfoot stays hidden in shadows and trees, but I feel the presence, and that's enough. It reminds me that I'm not alone in this work of trying to protect what's left of the wild world. There are others, human and non-human, who are doing their part to maintain the balance. I've changed my whole approach to ranger work. I see my job differently now. I'm not just enforcing rules and maintaining trails. I'm serving as a bridge between the human world and the wild world. I'm teaching people to respect what they don't understand. I'm protecting places that have their own intelligence, their own purpose, their own spirit. When I find trash on trails now, I don't just feel annoyed. I feel sad because I understand what that trash represents. Humans disconnect from the sacred nature of these places. When I catch poachers, I don't just arrest them. I try to help them understand what they're really doing, how they're breaking connections that can never be fully repaired. And when I meet other people in the forest, I try to teach them gently how to truly see what's around them. I show them how to listen to the forest. I teach them about the interconnection of all things. I help them feel the spirit that flows through everything. Some people think I've gotten weird. That's fine. I'd rather be weird and awake than normal and blind. What gives me hope is that I'm starting to see changes. Small changes, but changes nonetheless. More people are asking questions about conservation. More people are showing genuine respect for wild places. More people are starting to understand that we can't keep taking without giving back. The environmental movement is growing, which is good. But what's better is that some people are starting to understand it's not just about saving polar bears or preventing climate change. It's about recognizing that we are part of a vast living system and that system's health is our health. The Big Food told me that humans are supposed to be caretakers, that our intelligence and our abilities are meant to be used for healing and protecting, not just for taking and building. More people are starting to live that truth, whether they know it consciously or not. I see it in the young rangers coming up who care deeply about conservation. I see it in the indigenous communities who are reclaiming their traditional relationships with the land. I see it in the scientists who are discovering what traditional peoples have always known, that everything in nature is connected in ways we're only beginning to understand. I see it in ordinary people who are making choices to live more sustainably, to consume less, to reconnect with nature. Each person who makes that choice is another seed sprouting, another light turning on. It's not enough yet. We're still destroying faster than we're healing. We're still taking more than the earth can give. We're still treating the natural world as a resource to be exploited rather than a living community we're part of. But the tide is beginning to turn slowly. Painfully, slowly, but turning. I'll probably never tell anyone the full story of what happened to me in that ravine. The Bigfoot was right. Most people aren't ready. They'd dismiss it as fantasy or delusion. They'd miss the truth in pursuit of proof. But I'm telling you now in this account that I may never share because the truth matters. Because somewhere in these words, there might be something that resonates with someone who needs to hear it. Bigfoot exists. They're real. They're intelligent. They're aware. And they're watching us, hoping we'll wake up before it's too late. But whether you believe that or not doesn't really matter. What matters is the message. What matters is the truth about connection, about balance, about humanity's proper role in the web of life. We are not separate from nature. We are not above it. We are not its masters. We are part of it, woven into it, dependent on it. When we destroy nature, we destroy ourselves. When we heal nature, we heal ourselves. This is not mystical nonsense. This is a practical truth. Our air, Our water, our food, our medicine, our mental and physical health, all of it comes from healthy ecosystems. All of it depends on biodiversity, on old-growth forests, on clean rivers, on intact animal populations. The Bigfoot wanted me to tell humans that wild places need protection, that wild things need space, that we must learn to share this earth better, to take less, to give back more, to live in balance. That's a message worth sharing regardless of its source. That's a truth worth living regardless of who taught it to me. So I move forward living this truth as best I can. I protect the forest, not just because it's my job, but because I understand now that it's my purpose. I'm a caretaker, like Bigfoot said, like all humans are supposed to be. I make mistakes still. I'm not perfect. I still participate in the modern world with all its disconnection and destruction, but I'm trying. I'm doing my part. I'm planting seeds. And sometimes when I'm deep in the forest, far from trails and other humans, I'll stop and close my eyes and just feel. I'll feel the vibration of life all around me. I'll feel the spirit that flows through everything. I'll feel my connection to all of it. And sometimes in those moments, I'll whisper a thank you to my teacher, to the Bigfoot who saved my life and changed my understanding of everything. To the ancient intelligence that still guards the wild places, still maintains the balance, still hopes that humans will remember their true purpose. The Bigfoot was right. We're at a turning point. The question is what we'll choose. Will we keep forgetting, keep destroying, keep separating ourselves from the living world until there's nothing left worth having? Or will we remember, wake up, come back into balance, and take our proper place as caretakers of this beautiful, sacred, interconnected earth? The answer will determine everything, not just for us, but for all the beings we share this planet with. For the trees and the rivers and the animals, for the wild things hiding in the deep places, hoping humans will finally understand. I know what I choose. I choose to remember. I choose to care. I choose to be part of the healing. And I hope with everything I am that enough other humans make the same choice before it's too late. While there's still time to restore the balance, while there are still teachers in the wilderness willing to guide us back to the truth we forgot. That's what the Bigfoot wanted me to share. That's what I learned during those weeks in the wilderness. Broken and helpless, cared for by a creature that shouldn't exist but does. That's the truth I'm living now every single day. And it's changed everything. For more interesting stories, check this out.